You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
It is WHOW. Good morning. Welcome into the WHOW Morning Show. I'm your host, Jared White, filling in for Seth Lawrence this morning. And our guest in studio is Julia Roundtree Livingston. She is the Executive Director of Macon County CASA. Good morning, Julia.
Hi, Jared. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking time out, joining us this morning, making the trip to the Big Red Barn. And
yes,
it sounds like the scheduling worked out well weather-wise to make a trip to the Big
Red Barn.
It
did. We're just beating it, right?
Seems that way. But as we catch up here toward the end of January, believe it or not, how has the first month of 2022 gone for Macon County CASA?
It's going well. We are in our first training class of 2022, and we've got 10 volunteers enrolled, so that's very exciting. We even have a couple of men in the mix, so that's always a great thing. And, they're really looking forward to continuing to learn. They'll get a chance to meet with the JA judges and with the GALs, and they'll just gather all the information that they need to become great CASA advocates.
That's awesome to have that. I would assume that's a pretty big training class.
Yeah. The beginning of the year is always great. People really do sort of a reassessment of their life and how they're spending their time. And some people realize that maybe over the last year, they spent time maybe not spending it wisely, and they want to make sure that they are offering something to their community worthwhile with their time. And so that's something that they're definitely finding in CASA. So we offer that.
That's awesome. Before we jump too far into this discussion this morning, let's kind of step back and just get an overview for those that aren't familiar. What is Macon County CASA? What does CASA mean? Things like that.
Yeah. So for 23 years, we've offered advocacy for children who have been abused or neglected. They've been removed from their biological homes and placed into foster care. And so we've been doing that for 23 years in Macon County. And last year in July in 2021, we expanded our services to DeWitt County as well. So we are now offering advocacy to the foster children in DeWitt County too.
So expanding the services, how's that expansion gone, in 6 months?
It's gone well. We have a really great template with what we've done for over 20 years, and we've had a lot of success with that. And so, the expansion is exciting. There are, of course, new challenges like anything new, but we feel very prepared to tackle those. And the community's just been great in receiving us. So that's been a big help too.
I would assume with that expansion, you saw a need in DeWitt County to come in and represent these kids?
We did. And actually, the JA judge saw a need and sort of requested our services. And, we chatted through and tried to figure out how we could make that happen. Obviously, funding is a very big part of that, being a nonprofit and, having valuable work, but making sure that we can sell that valuable work to everyone to make sure that everyone sort of does their part. So, seeking funding through grants or individual donations or fundraisers.
Fundraisers are a big thing. I know you've got some coming up. Well, I want to talk more about that. But Julia, when it comes to the impact that the program has with your experience that you've seen in Macon County and now seeing in DeWitt County, tell us a little bit about that aspect.
Yeah, honestly, our services are so vital to these children. If you can imagine a child coming into foster care, leaving everything that they've known, sometimes children are separated. So siblings that sometimes can't be placed in the same homes. That's another difficulty. And then even being placed in a new foster home with people that you don't know, maybe in a new community. Those are all big challenges and being introduced to so many new people. So when we can place a CASA advocate on a case with a child, that person becomes the one consistent person in their life. Typically, children are in foster care for around 2 years on average. And so for that 2 years, we're offering them that one consistent person who really helps them regain a sense of trust in adults after they've lost that from the people that they should have been able to trust the most, their parents. And so this person comes in, they visit with them regularly, monthly. They're having conversations with them in lots of different ways. They're also having conversations with other people that are involved in the child's life, and they're ensuring safety in the current foster home and really working for safety and permanence for that child, whether that be reunification with their parents after they've put in a lot of hard work and become a safe and permanent home again, or, permanence in the form of adoption or aging out of the system. So there are lots of ways that can happen.
Sure. So very important to the child, but I would assume that the volunteers probably take away just as much as what the child does.
You're absolutely right. I mean, that's what the volunteers tell us often. I would not lie to tell people that this is not a heavy, opportunity that you have volunteering with CASA. And I wouldn't even say that it's necessarily a position that everyone would want to have or could have. But what I would say is that everyone says that just as much as the children get out of this experience, they get even more, making sure that the time they spend away from whatever it is that's in their life is being spent in a worthwhile way.
With that being said, the heaviness of this volunteer opportunity, can I just step right into it? Is there a training involved? How does the volunteer opportunity work?
Yeah. So when you make the decision that this might be a good fit for you, and of course, you can go visit our website, which is maconcountycasa.org, to give you a lot of insight onto what that would be involved. But we have sort of a rigid entry process. We do an application online on our website, and that asks you to enter 3 non-family references. We also ask you to conduct a 1-hour volunteer interview with us. It's a standard set of questions that we ask. And then we, of course, do a background check. We have to make sure that everyone that we're offering into this child's life is safe for them. So once all of those things are passed, then we invite you to a 30-hour training. It's 6 weeks long. We offer both an in-person option or an online option. And during that 6 weeks of training, you really receive all of the information that you need to know. It is false that you need any sort of background in child welfare to be a CASA advocate. You don't. Our volunteers come from many walks of life, like education and banking and business ownership and lots of things. And we give you really everything that you'll need to know. Some of it is on the job training. So once you get assigned to a case with a child, some of it is learning that through, but you're never working it alone. You work right alongside of our child welfare professional, who's our employee, an advocate supervisor, and they can always be your sounding board to help you through things.
When you take a look at that training process, it's a 30-hour program over 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So what kind of a time commitment is that inside the training itself?
So we offer it 1 day a week. This session we're doing Thursdays. And so we have a morning class or an evening class. So your class either begins at 9:15 a.m. or 5:15 p.m. And they last for 3 hours. So in between class sessions, in between Thursdays, you'll have some online work to do, reading a sample case, reading a sample court report, commenting to your classmates on our system called Moodle. It's sort of like a online communication system. And again, it's all with the purpose of learning these different experiences, because many of the things that our kids go through, our volunteers really have not had any idea what that kind of life looks like. And so, we're teaching that to the volunteers. This is not your experience of going and volunteering at the food pantry one morning. This is definitely a commitment for a relationship with a child.
Well, and once you get through that training and, you get through the training, do you get matched up with a child then, or how does that work?
You do. We try to match you very carefully. We get to know you during the training and your interview, and we learn what your strengths are. And of course, we have children that are already assigned to us, and our current employees are working those cases now until we can get volunteers onto them. So we sort of know what those children need. So we match needs with, what the strengths are of the volunteer to try to make it the best relationship that we can.
And then once I match with a child, what's that look like moving forward?
So the training is the hardest part to fit into your schedule. Once you get matched with your child, it really depends on your own schedule, what your commitment looks like. We typically say up to 8 hours a month is what you're committing in your volunteer time, but that's not all at one time. That is a 1-hour visit with the kiddo at school or at their foster home, a couple of phone calls to a caseworker, a couple of emails to, one of their service providers, a doctor or a therapist. And so, you really just sort of plan your advocacy around what the child needs, what you're recognizing the child needs.
Well, and with that advocacy that you mentioned that, the email to a therapist or something like that. So you really are watching over this child and watching out for their best interests.
Yeah, we are often called the extra set of eyes and ears on the case for the judge, because ultimately every 6 months you're going to write a court report to the judge and let him know how things are going in the child's life, what your concerns are, and what recommendations that you have. So, there's really a lot of power that comes with the knowledge that you're gaining as well in the child's life.
Mhm.
And of course, don't let the court report scare you. We have a template. It's a very strategic and very planned, report, and you learn about how to do that in your training. And you also have the advocate supervisor to help you as you write them.
What are some things that you hear from all aspects of this program, but especially from the volunteers? What do you hear from the volunteers after they go through the training and get matched up, a couple months into the program? What are you hearing back? What's the feedback?
Yeah, so many things. Our volunteers tell us, for instance, that they really had no idea, all of the stress and the trauma that these children are experiencing while going through foster care. They thought they knew, but then they took the training and actually got assigned to a child and realized it's more, more intense on the children's part than they thought. They also say how they recognize right away how much that child needs them. And by need, I'm not talking about they're not emailing you constantly or texting you constantly. It comes in very small ways. I have a volunteer and he's known by his kiddos, his CASA kiddos and his family by 3:00 Mike. So every Thursday at 3:00, he has an outstanding appointment to be at the foster kids home. And before he even shows up at the door, the kids are waiting for him at the door. And they mean so much to him, and he means so much to them at the same time. That consistency, and I can't say it enough, is something that our kids aren't getting. And it's so important. You have your own kids, how important it is. For instance, when you say you're going to do something, that you do it.
Sure.
Because if you don't, they'll remind you. They're children.
Yeah.
And just to share the joys that the volunteers are so happy to get to share both joys and sorrows with the kiddos. They feel welcome to share those things because they know that their CASA volunteer, Mike, is not going to judge them or be, angry with them. He is going to support them and help them problem solve and figure things out in their life.
Wow. So definitely a fulfilling program on both ends of the spectrum. And Julia, when it comes to getting involved, are you looking for volunteers?
Always. We're always looking for volunteers. So actually, I'm a numbers person. We have 50 children in DeWitt County's foster care system. And so currently we're assigned to 10 with 6 volunteers from here in the DeWitt community. And so our goal by the end of June 2022 is to be assigned to at least half of those total 50 children. So really realistically, I need 15 more volunteers right now from DeWitt County to help us get to that goal and make some serious strides with these children. It's not just a matter of making the kids feel good or providing that consistency. When CASA can be assigned to their cases, they actually get to leave foster care 6 months faster, which is a huge outcome, that we know means so much. So, 18 months versus, being in for 2 years, that's a huge amount of time. And so, and we're helping them receive permanency. Right now they're living in limbo. They don't know if when they get picked up from school, if they're going back to the same foster home. Our kids typically move foster homes like 4 to 5 times a year. And so we need to give them that security so that they can move past this trauma and really help them become productive adults.
So definitely a need for volunteers when it comes to the next training. When is that set up for?
So March 1st, we're still going to be offering the morning in person and the evening online. We're really hopeful that accommodates lots of different kinds of people because, again, our volunteers are from all walks of life. I'd actually say 70% of our volunteers are full-time employees, which is something I think people need to know because they want to know, how does this fit into my schedule? And it really can. Again, you really just work with the family and figure out when that visit's going to work and then figure out when you have that spare time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So opportunities are there. If we want to find out more about that upcoming training, how do we do that?
Go to MaconCountyCASA.org. You can also visit us on Facebook, which is very active. It's Macon County CASA, serving Macon and DeWitt counties.
Sound great. Jump on there to find out more. And I know you've got a unique fundraising opportunity coming up. We're going to take a time out. We'll come back and talk some more.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us. And again, folks, our guest this morning here on the program, Julia Roundtree Livingston, Executive Director of Macon County CASA. We're back in just a bit here on the WHOW Morning Show.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
It is WHOW. Once again, good morning. Welcome back into the morning show. I'm Jared White, filling in for Seth Lawrence this morning. And again, our guest on this segment of today's program is Julia Roundtree Livingston. She is the Executive Director of Macon County CASA, which has expanded into DeWitt County, is currently serving children within the court system here in the county. And Julia, we left off alluding to a unique fundraiser that's coming back to Macon County CASA. Tell us what's happening.
It is. So for 20 years, this is actually our 20th anniversary of this fundraiser, which, if you know anything about fundraisers and nonprofits, it's very hard to have a lasting fundraiser that continues to be successful and receive lots of support from the community. But we've managed to do that. And so we are having our 20th annual CASAs for CASA Playhouse raffle this year. So it's extremely exciting. For 20 years, we have designed and built 2 playhouses each year, children's playhouses. And several years ago, we really amped up the professionalism, I guess, on all parts. And so we engage with lots of community partners. We start with BLDD Architects Syndicator, and they professionally design lots of designs for us. And then we come to the public. So starting February 7th, we will have an online voting. So the public will get their chance to see for the first time the designs that BLDD has come up with, and they'll get to vote for their favorites. And the top 3 vote getters actually are going to win this year. So we're adding in our 20th anniversary a 3rd playhouse, sort of in honor of our expansion to DeWitt County. And the 3rd house will be committed to DeWitt County.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and when you hear playhouse, you have an idea of what a playhouse is. I've seen some of the renderings and some pictures of past playhouses from Macon County CASA. Take what you're thinking and just kind of throw that away, because these go 9 times levels
Yes.
above that level. It's amazing the work that goes into these.
It is. And, not only kids are so excited about these playhouses, but as I was telling you during the break, adults are crushing over these amazing playhouses because they're just so cool. So they're 8x8x8 in nature. And again, they're professionally designed. They're actually professionally built. So we have a couple of different building companies, local building companies that, donate their time, and they donate their time and build these houses professionally. As well as the Decatur Home Builders Association. So some members there help us. And then all of the materials are donated from Lowe's in Forsyth. So they donate, they're all your typical house materials that you would build. So these things are built to be living in your backyard in the elements, for years and years. And then we have a couple of professional painters that also help us paint the houses. So like you said, they're amazing. They're beyond your wildest dreams. And BLDD does such a great job of just coming up with creativity and something different.
So the tickets will be coming soon, but I guess first thing is look for the designs coming out.
Yes, you'll want to vote. So we'll have probably 8 to 9 designs, and we're whittling that down to 3. So you'll want to choose your 3 favorites. You'll get to vote daily. It's online voting, and make sure that you get your kids involved. Let them look one day and maybe allow them to choose to vote which ones. And so once we get those 3, then our builders will begin the sketching in the building. And so across the months of February and March, the building will be happening, the building and painting. And then on March 21st is going to be our first official day to start purchasing your tickets. And you can purchase those online at maconcountycasa.org. We will also have ticket purchase options available in both Macon and DeWitt counties as well.
So be looking for more information for that amazing Playhouse raffle. It's coming from Macon County CASA. We're just about out of time, believe it or not, Julia. We want to find out more about the volunteer opportunities, about Macon County CASA just in general. How do we do that?
Yeah, so visit us on our website, which is maconcountycasa.org. Lots of great information there. Or visit us on our active Facebook page, which is Macon County CASA, serving Macon and DeWitt counties.
All right, so jump on there to learn more. And we've got about 30 seconds. I know you've got another coffee crawl coming up real quickly.
So we have the second annual CASA Coffee Crawl, and it involves 10 locations of local coffee shops. So we invite you to participate in that as well. It's a great caffeinated and non-caffeinated activity to do with your family and friends, and it will be lots of fun with proceeds benefiting Macon County CASA.
More details on the Facebook page?
On the Facebook page.
So jump on there to find out more. Julia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Julia Livingston, Macon County CASA Executive Director, joining us here on WHOW.